TOPAZ Denoise AI gets a new update. This is version 3.5. This is a first look video. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. What you're seeing on the screen before you now is the changelog for Denoise version 3.5. These are the new changes as well as some fixes. I will link all this information in the description below this video. I'm starting out in Lightroom now. I have no adjustments whatsoever on this image, no detail adjustments, no nothing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is send this into TOPAZ Denoise AI as a raw file. Now I'm working with a Mac, and the way I like to send this into Denoise AI as a raw file is to right click on the image and go to Show in Finder, and there's my image right here. And then what I like to do is drag it over to my dock and just sit it on top of Denoise AI and release the left click of the mouse. And that simply launches TOPAZ Denoise AI. And in a second or two, you'll see my images successfully added to TOPAZ Denoise AI. Now I'm noticing right off the bat, Denoise AI's interface is a little bit darker. They changed the interface a little bit here. Now you'll notice I'm on RAW. Now you still have your different models that you can use in here. Standard, clear, low light, and severe noise. But I want to work as a RAW because, hopefully you get a better result when you're working with a RAW file. Now I've had some issues with images that had extreme noise. RAW didn't work so well. But on normal images, working with RAW is a good way to go in my opinion. Now the image on the left is the original. The image on the right is the denoised image, the RAW file. So let me go ahead and let's zoom into 400% here and take a look. Let's let this update here. So now we see the image on the right here's the before. If I left click with the mouse, you can see the before, and here's the after. But of course we can compare it to the image on the left, which is the original. Or if you just want to see a single view, you can click right here and just see one single view. And as you can see here, here's the before and here's the after, and it's done a really nice job. Now, of course, I am in the auto mode here, and if I felt I needed more noise reduction, I could pull this remove noise up. But I think my noise is good, and as far as sharpening is concerned, I think the sharpening looks really good. Here again is the before, and here's the after. So I think it looks a lot sharper. Now to save the image, all we need to do is click save, and I'm going to send it back as preserved source format. Now you have choices in here. You can send it back as JPEG, TIFF, whatever you want. But of course, I brought it into Denoise AI as a raw format, so I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to send it back in the preserved source format, okay? And right back to the source directory because it's real easy to find it, and I'll show you back in Lightroom. So let me go ahead and click on save, and that's going to go ahead and save this out, and we'll be right back in Lightroom in a minute or two here. Now here we are back in Lightroom, but the image is not here yet. Now this is very important, so follow me on this. Right now, this is the original image that I sent into TOPAZ Denoise AI. So what you need to do is make sure you're in that same folder that image came from, all right? Which we are right here. All you need to do is right click with your mouse on that folder and find synchronize folder, which is right here. You see that? Click on that. And this dialog box comes up here. And it says synchronize and keeps your Lightroom catalog up to date with the latest changes you may have made to your photos and other applications. And then all you need to do, you can see there's one photo here that needs to get synced in here, and that would be the image that came from Denoise AI. So just click on synchronize, and then you'll see that image show up right here. And the next step is to right click on that image and go to folder and library. And there it is right there, and you'll see it. It's called Denoise 0507 raw.dng. Okay, so now it's a raw file that's been denoised, and the original file is sitting right to the left of it right here. Now let me go ahead and select both images, and let's go into this comparison mode here so you can see both images on the screen. So now let me go ahead and zoom in. And as you can see, the image on the right, I'm zooming in to 400%. The image on the right is the original image without noise reduction or sharpening or any edits. The image on the left has been sharpened, noise reduced, and brought back into Photoshop as a raw file from TOPAZ Denoise AI. And now at this point, let me click on single view At this point, I could go ahead and take this image and go ahead and process it out as a raw file with its noise already been removed. So let's come over here to develop and let's go to basic. One thing I don't like when I use Denoise AI to denoise a raw file is I lose all my Adobe profiles. That's probably not the case for all cameras, but it is for my Canon 5D Mark II. Okay, and let's just click the auto button here and see what kind of result we get. Okay, I think that's too much exposure, so I'm going to pull that exposure back a little bit, pull my highlights in just a little wee bit, and maybe open up the shadows a touch. And I think the white point looks pretty good. And let's work on the black point just a little bit, clipping that black a little bit. I think right there looks pretty good. I still think my highlights are too hot, so I'm going to pull those back a wee bit and maybe pull that exposure back a little bit more to right about there. And now maybe open up the shadows a tiny wee bit. And by the way, this is just a throwaway image, but I want to show you what I would do after I brought it back from TOPAZ DENOISE AI as a raw file, and then I want to continue on with the editing process. So next, I would come down into lens corrections. Now notice something interesting in lens corrections. First off, I'm going to remove chromatic aberrations because I always do that. And I'll check that on, and that gets rid of any chromatic aberrations. But notice a problem here, at least with my Canon 5D Mark II. When I enable profile corrections, notice something here. It says, oh, unable to locate a matching profile automatically. So I don't have a matching profile. Now I could come in here to make and come to Canon and find something close. In my case, it would be like a 70 to 200 millimeter. Like this lens right here would be pretty close to my lens. So I could click that and get a fair representation of what that lens profile correction should look like. But it loses that information through TOPAZ DENOISE AI. So I just want you to know that. Now that may not be the case for all lenses, but for mine, it is true, as well as my Canon 5D Mark II. It misses the Adobe profiles for that. Now, is it a deal breaker? I don't think so. I mean, I can still work here relatively okay here with this lens profile. The adjustments with a basic Adobe color profile, it's going to be fine. Now, as you all know, I like to use my linear profile. So if I want to use a linear profile, I'm going to go ahead and make my adjustments first in Lightroom, and then I go into Photoshop and then add denoising from there. And to be honest with you, that's generally the way I do work, and I will probably continue to work that way. But for all those out there who love to edit or love to denoise images in the raw format, I'm doing this video for you. And I do believe the best practice is to denoise your images in the raw format. I mean, honestly, that is the best practice. But for me, whether I denoise it in RAW or else if I send an image without denoising into Photoshop that has some minor edits on it and then do the denoising in Photoshop, with Topaz software, I honestly cannot see a difference in the quality that I get whether denoising in RAW first or after. I'm just being totally upfront with you. Well, there you go, everyone. That was a first look at the latest release of TOPAZ DENOISE AI version 3.5. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.